haven't been messing with my diplomas, have you?
No, no, no. Not yet. I'm going to wait till you leave. And then...
Do this first. I can't worry about that.
I'm usually over there, aren't I?
I don't. Where do you want to be from?
I'll be right here this time.
Okay.
Mary.
Okay.
Sherry, do you want to go look down there and just see, are these centered?
Is these what?
I just want to make sure they're relatively centered.
Okay. And can you put that water in the
Actually, yeah.
something? I'll get down and check it.
Please. Please rise for the class of 2022. Please remain standing. Please remain standing for our school song. Please be seated. I, along with the trustees of the Kingswood Oxford School, welcome our students, our administrators and faculty and staff, family, friends, and those who are watching from afar via the West Hartford Public Television live stream to Kingswood Oxford's 113th commencement ceremony celebrating the class of 2022. It's my pleasure now to welcome Mr. Ted Levine to the stage to lead our invocation.
Good morning, and welcome to you all. And thank you for joining the class of 2022 for this morning's wonderful commencement. And happy birthday, Olivia. You thought I'd forget, didn't you? And to the class of 2022, take a moment. Picture a painting class, if you will. A class early in the semester. The beloved and much missed Mrs. Rossoff would be showing the class a new painting technique. If I'm showing you too much, Mrs. Rossoff would say, if I'm overbearing and destroying your creativity, if I keep telling you to do something in a certain way and your painting is becoming too much my painting, I want you to look at me right in the eye and say, Mrs. Rossoff, give me the damn brush. And that is just what we did. Matter of fact, we gave you so many brushes and so many palettes, and what you all created was distinctly yours. Some of you painted in broad swaths, seeing concepts and abstractions, making connections among ideas and disciplines. You leave here with a sophisticated template to be refined at your next academic stop. To others, your brushes and palettes created fine details in your poems and prose, in your music and dance and design. You became the master of the delicate and the refined. At times, your brushstrokes were so well planned, and other times you put some jazz on your brush and improvised. They'll take your many brushes and palettes as you leave, and just don't slap on the paint. Give the world yet another monochrome recoding. And now comes your widening. You will soon have the big chance to explore complexities you have yet to see. At the same time, you'll sharpen and you'll find your single challenge, the profound question you have to answer, the ambiguity needing to be clarified, and you'll have so much information to explore what you can do. I know you'll find the wisdom to figure out what we should do. During these past years, your endurance test called high school, we were floored by your performances, awed by your athleticism, challenged by your ideas, appreciative of your sensitivities. Your very long days here left little room for mind wandering and reflection. Last night, your class night, your reflections and your good humor showed your readiness to move on. Lexi, you reminded us how small moments and conversations shaped your class's bond. And Khalees, your reading reflected how both our portraits and promises are always changing, and how this community embraces an ongoing reinvention of self and celebrates at once who you are and who you'll become. Charlotte, you were right. KO makes things happen. A community always encouraging now and readying you for this time tomorrow. Singers, musicians, artists, dancers, your artistry offered brief yet deep glimpses of who you are, glimpses of we could never catch just passing each other between classes. Megan, you spoke of how a community's resilience is defined by involvement, breaking through comfort zones. And Catherine and Sam, you showed us your humor forges our bonds. And Sam Merkatz, in your words, creativity, camaraderie, compassion, how little moments in the corners of each day behind the scores and numbers form a community of caring beyond self. And Charles and Zeno and Morgan, Ricardo, an elegant film about hope's power and celebrating each other's gifts. That's your farewell metaphor. All of you. Next year, wherever you will be, you will have the time and space to think about the why. Why does your art resonate with you and bring you such joy? Why do you steadfastly pursue the complexities and ambiguities of knowing? Sometimes the answer will come to you only after some heavy thought. Other times it may come to you in an instant. And while there will be mentors and scholars to guide your question shaping, there will be no one associate professor of wisdom and humility defining your why for you. And someday, very far in time from now, you'll ask yourself, what have I made of my life? That wish you wish to answer then, do now. To the class of 2022, you have been remarkable artists and scholars. You certainly impressed us. You will always have a community who cares about you deeply, and to all of you, we wish you the very, very best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Levine. I'd like to now welcome Caroline Dawson from the class of 2022 to introduce our commencement speaker.
For 35 years, Ron Monroe has called Kingswood Oxford home. He came in 1987 and has been shaping young minds ever since. I know why I chose him to be our speaker, but I also wondered what my classmates' reasons were for choosing him as well. After asking around, the responses I got were somewhere along the lines of, he's the greatest teacher ever, and or the nicest man ever. Over his time at KO, Mr. Monroe has quite literally done it all. You name a position, and there's a pretty good chance he's held it. He advised, coached, taught in both the middle and upper schools, was the English department chair for 12 years, and was even at one point the head of the entire upper school. Needless to say, he's got quite the resume. First and foremost, though, he is a teacher. and has shared his passions and enthusiasm for literature with students of all ages for generations. Over the decades, Mr. Monroe's voice has filled the Hall of Severns, whether he's sharing his love of Gatsby, reciting lines of Shakespeare, or rousing students in a discussion of the symposium author. He's taught every single grade at KO except for 6th, and he's had the opportunity to teach 3 symposium classes. Luckily for him and me, he couldn't get out of the school without teaching me. He was my English teacher in both my sophomore and senior years of high school. Sophomore year, I enjoyed every second with him, getting into heated debates about the American Dream and Gatsby, or putting on a play of Macbeth in Robert's Theater the Friday before spring break. I think we seniors remember that day a little all too well. He always believed that what he taught was interesting and made it exciting, completely devoting himself to ensuring success for his students. I noticed that for him, watching his students grow was always the most rewarding, and he did everything in his power to ensure each student thrived in class and grew as both a student and a person. In 2020, when COVID first hit, I joined my first Zoom class with Mr. Monroe, and I could not stop smiling when he came on screen in his office at school wearing his typical collared shirt and bow tie. Meanwhile, half the class was in pajamas and half asleep, but Mr. Monroe dressed up for every single Zoom class I had with him that year for 3 months without fail. The pandemic did not stop him from looking his best, even though it definitely stopped the rest of us. When not teaching, Mr. Monroe could be found in Sobey Gym, teaching girls the game of basketball. He coached varsity and JV and was the coach of the varsity team when they made their jump from Class C to B. I was lucky enough to have played under Mr. Monroe for 3 years at the JV level and loved every minute as he shared his love for the game with the future generation of basketball players. While I can't speak for players that came before me, I can speak for myself and say he was one of the greatest coaches that I have ever had. He brought both an extensive knowledge of the game and an immense amount of patience and passion. He never got frustrated or angry with us, but instead ensured we always knew what we were doing and that we were always improving. I honestly can't remember the records from the years I was on the team, but after every single game, win or lose, Mr. Monroe made it a point to tell us how proud he was and how we could move forward and improve. This past winter was his last season ever as a coach, and to honor him, we invited former players to watch his last game, and we had quite the turnout, which was a true testament to him as a coach and the lasting impact he leaves on his players when they graduate. In so many ways, Mr. Monroe is the heart and soul of Kingswood Oxford, and I am honored to have been a student or a player of his for every year in my time at KO. With 35 graduations under his belt, he finally hangs up the old bow tie and walks across the stage with us for the final time. There's nobody I would rather hear parting words of wisdom from before we all go our separate ways. Please join me in welcoming this year's graduation speaker, Mr. Monroe. Where are you?
First of all, Caroline, thank you so much for that kind and generous introduction. I really do appreciate it. Trustees, honored guests, colleagues, students, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, brothers and sisters, friends, and most importantly, to the graduating class of 2022. First of all, I am both honored and humbled to be your graduation speaker. I am honored because by giving me this privilege, you, the class of 22, are expressing confidence that I have something worthwhile to share. Not only that, but you've given me this opportunity to do so as I retire, when we are both leaving this school. I am humbled by all those colleagues who have spoken at this occasion before me, who have shared such wise and worthwhile experiences and advice with all in attendance. And while I will soon leave with so many lasting memories of my time here, this special opportunity will stay with me forever. Thank you. While thinking about what I would say to you on this auspicious day, I first thought, actually, of how graduating from KO and retiring from teaching at KO are similar in some ways. For example, as one commemoration of your graduation, Your class shields with all of your initials etched onto them will hang in the upper floor hallway of Roberts alongside all the other classes who have graduated. To mark my retirement, my framed photograph, such as it is, will be there too, alongside all the other teachers who have retired from KO. Also, this fall, we are both going to be moving to a town or city that has a college or university in it. I'll be moving to Middlebury, Vermont, by the way. So we have that in common. Once there, we'll both be establishing new routines and making new friends. As far as new routines go, we can sleep late if we want to. Well, provided you don't have any early classes. And once we get up, we won't have to get dressed up. We can wear t-shirts, shorts, and flip-flops if we want to. Oh, wait. You already did that this year, come to think of it. Well, when we meet friends next year, you might just go to your college's student center to hang out with them, while I just might go to the town's senior center to do the same. Also, I imagine you spent a good portion of this past year looking back and at the same time looking forward, much like the Roman god Janus, full of the realization that there have been a series of last times for you, some you savored, others that you regretted some, all the while anticipating what first times the coming school year might bring. I've certainly felt much the same way at various moments this past year. I also imagine you have had your share of questions from the curious as to where will you be going to college, just as I have had those what are your plans for retirement questions. With all of these queries, there are implied expectations of us being ready for, or at least thinking about, our life's next chapter, even before we get to actually turn the page to it. Both graduation and retirement are transitions in life, the next part being one with an array of possibilities for the both of us. We've given much to this school and, in return, gained much from it, along the way meeting people, making new friends, and collecting experiences that we found both challenging and rewarding, all the while adding to our collective and personal stories. Yet as much as we might miss our lives here, we feel we are ready to move on and might even be looking forward to it. Of course, my next chapter is a little bit further along in life's continuing than yours is. Accordingly, this difference gives me the opportunity to share with you some perspectives that possibly only the passage of time can allow. Time's paradox. It both takes away and at the same time gives, plays out here. As to time taking away, well, my younger self would be more than likely mortified to witness my present self on a morning run. And I use that verb run loosely here. And frankly, I used to have a lot more hair on the top of my head, too. However, despite Mick Jagger's lamentation, what a drag it is getting old, in the Stones song 19 Nervous Breakdown, time gives as well. Time gives experiences, many of them ordinary, some of them significant, all of them rolled up into what I can look back on and call parts of my life. In her book, The Writing Life, author Annie Dillard observes, "How we spend our days is how we spend our lives." At first blush, this might strike you as self-evident, yet I think it is a bit more than that. I read this as indicating that what we choose to do with our day-to-day lives combines to make our life stories, ones that we share with certain others, sometimes with the greater public at large through social media, always with the knowledge that it is our story, our life. Our stories, how we impact the world around us and how the world affects us, are crucial to what helps to make us human. Both those stories of others we read of or hear about, and those of our own we share with others. Our narratives have entertained us, and they have also helped us cope with life's uncertainties and unknowns. They have connected us with others as we listen to our good friend's story, only to realize the same thing happened to us, or we felt the same way about something. Hearing these other stories and telling our own reminds us that everyone has feelings and fears and hopes, that everyone is trying to do their best as they make their way in the world. And by this, we are better able to put ourselves in another's shoes, becoming more empathic as human beings, and maybe even kinder to ourselves. Nothing can hold our attention like a good story. We remember fondly those moments when someone, a parent, a teacher, a friend, read a story to us or told a story to us. I can still recall my teacher, Mrs. Damberg, reading E.B. White's Charlotte's Web to my third grade classmates and me during parts of several pleasant afternoons just before the bell to signal the end of the school day. Stories also provide order to what can be a disordered life. We construct these internal narratives so that we can make sense of the world. While we may think that only those talented writers, some of whom you have met firsthand over the years through the English Symposium, have access to any stories worth telling, the fact is that from a very young age, we are all bona fide storytellers. Remember the storytelling you did as part of your 9th grade English class? Through the spoken word, you had a chance with that project to share with your classmates and teacher a part of your story. I wonder what story you would tell now, having the chance to do that again. Well, I imagine as you look forward to your next chapter, you will be yourself, whoever that is to you. This is also a time when you can change things up or just simply realize what goes into making the best possible version, the best possible story of yourself. Regardless, as the protagonist of your own story, you should be intentional about the role you play in it. With this in mind, I'd like to offer 3 pieces of advice when it comes to writing your narrative. First, do your best to keep control of your own story. Second, know that others and their stories will be a part of your narrative, just as you will be a part of theirs. And third, anticipate the plot twist. Know that unexpected events will happen, causing the best laid plans to go awry, and be open to that. One of the most famous first lines in American literature, "Call me Ishmael," comes from Herman Melville's novel Moby Dick. In this line, the narrator of the novel, Ishmael, introduces himself to us before he begins to tell a tale that goes on for over 100 chapters. Of course, he keeps us guessing as to his actual name. Maybe Ishmael is his name, and maybe it isn't. We never actually find out, as we are only told to call him that. One thing I realized, easily changed the name people called me when I began my freshman year in college. I'd been going to school with many of my high school classmates since kindergarten. As such, I was going by the same name at 18 that I had gone by at 5 years old. Ronnie Monroe. Even cringe. Now, I suppose this is an appropriate name when one is 5, but not so much when one is going into college. At least that's what I thought. So, I decided to introduce myself, which at my ear was a more grown-up sounding name. Now, there was no coyness in my thinking here. I didn't harbor any ulterior motive, as Ishmael might have. I simply wanted to be called by what was to me a more grown-up sounding name, maybe at a time when I wanted to start acting a bit more grown-up as well. This might seem a trivial example, yet I think our names are very much a part of our identity and are closely tied into who we are to ourselves and to others, and therefore our names have power. So from early on, I did what I could to intentionally take control of my own narrative in college and not allow others, or in this case, others from my past, to determine it for me. Of course, old habits die hard. Returning to my 25th high school reunion, I was called by my early nickname almost exclusively that evening. However, back then I didn't have your present-day realities of the various social media platforms that can, at times, require careful decisions about what to share and what not to share, of what is the reality of someone else's story, what is pure fiction, and what resides somewhere in between. Not to mention what others might do with your story in this very public forum. Please be aware that the beginning of your next chapter is very much in your hands, and do all you can to be the one creating it. What kind of story do you want to write for yourself? Something I'm sure you're already aware of, your stories are larger than yourselves. As much as you are surely the protagonist of your narrative, you are hardly the only one in it, and that is a good thing. Your high school story has a happy ending today because of the help and influence of many others, not the least of whom are your parents, your family, Your story will involve others, some who will be a part of your narrative for a lifetime, and others who will have walk-on roles, and still others who will be there for a while and then move on. Be open to others and what they have to offer. Be aware of their impacts on you and your story, but also be aware of your impact on them and theirs. For you have constructed important connections to the stories of your friends and family. No doubt, with those who are closest to you, you have created a weave of stories, a narrative fabric that another. For me, the role I played in another story came into sharp focus at the end of this past winter's basketball season. A player from the first two varsity teams I coached here, Kim, class of 1992, wrote a generous note to me that included her remembrances of her time on those teams. She also recalled a conversation she and I had, not only the details of what we spoke of, but also where it took place. Not on the basketball court, but in the lobby between the dining hall and the library, as a matter of fact. She was gracious to thank me for the advice I had offered, having to do with what she might do after she graduated as she thought of her own continuing narrative. While the memory of this conversation is hazy at best for me, Kim clearly recounts what we said to each other and what came of it all. Only now do I realize what effect my words had on her chosen path, or in this case, the road she didn't take. Among many other things, this reminded me of the potential effect I have, that we all have, on each other's stories. As other people in our story come and go throughout our lives, this interweaving reminds us of how we are part of something enduring, something much larger than ourselves. Finally, be prepared for plot twists within your story as well. Expect them, and don't shy away from them, as they could very well enrich the narrative of your life in ways you never expected. These unexpected turns in our stories may come from conflict or may create conflict, something that all stories include. One plot twist you and I shared came to us during your sophomore year when we left for March break. I don't think many or any of us thought we were leaving campus not to return to it for the rest of the school year, yet that is exactly what happened. Although Carolyn's right, I did come in to teach. The coronavirus and resultant pandemic took over, and our narratives changed unexpectedly, and not just for that year. Looking back, would you do things differently, or are you satisfied with your reaction to this plot twist? Things happen, often when we least expect it, and they challenge our abilities to remain open, to be resilient, to be accommodating, and even to be kind to others and to ourselves. While this is an example that caused more than enough upheaval for us and even catastrophe for so many others, I find myself almost overwhelmed with worry for the people in Ukraine and in Buffalo and in now Uvalde of how they are managing with their cataclysmic, gut-wrenching, life-changing plot twists. Here is a much quieter, less catastrophic, unexpected turn that happened to me when I was a little bit older than you are now. If someone were to tell me at my high school graduation that I would find the teaching profession eminently rewarding and spend the majority of my adult life involved in it, I wouldn't have believed that for a minute and thought that person didn't know me very well at all. While I only had a vague outline of my future story, it certainly didn't include teaching. Actually, the truth of the matter is, I was the one who didn't yet know enough about myself. As a psychology major and nearing the end of my junior year in college, I was thinking about graduate school. I had a clinical psych seminar that included some field work lined up for my senior year, and I thought grad school would follow. However, that spring of my junior year, looking for something to do while waiting for a summer job to start, I applied for a job as a teacher counselor at an outdoor education camp on Cape Cod. This camp ran during the spring and fall seasons, and it had classes of 5th and 6th graders stay at the camp for a week at a time. While I had quite a bit of summer camp experience as a child, I'd never been a camp counselor, so this is a bit outside my comfort zone. My thinking was, at the very least, I like being outdoors and I like going to camp, so what the heck, why not give it a try? As it turned out, I loved most everything about working at that camp. We counselors would teach hour-long classes on various outdoor, environmental, or nature topics during the mornings, and in the afternoons we would run more typical summer camp-style activities. When it came to working with these students, I found myself both challenged and rewarded. I also discovered I was having a lot of fun. Returning to school that fall, I realized it was too late to change my major, and actually, I didn't want to, as I enjoyed my study of psychology, and I wasn't necessarily entirely certain I wanted to try teaching. So, by graduation, after interviewing for an array of jobs, including a couple of teaching positions at independent schools, I accepted an apprentice teaching job at one of them, teaching 4th grade. This is a one-year program, so again I thought, well, if this doesn't work out, heck, it's only a year. As it turned out, it worked out and then some. Again, I was both challenged and rewarded working with my students, and I realized I'd found what I wanted to do with what seemed to be a natural fit for me. I sometimes wonder if I would have found the teaching profession had I not taken that job at that camp on the Cape. Well, I'll never know the answer to that. What I do know is that I kept open to the possibilities this plot twist presented in my own story, and I gave myself the chance to pursue a new line of my narrative, and that has made all the difference. Please know that these twists and turns, these unexpected events, conflicts, whatever you want to call them, will occur in anyone's narrative. By all means, expect them and realize they will run the range from expanding your life's opportunities to ones that put your true character to the test. Work hard at trying not to take the path of least resistance, but instead, try to remain open to these plot twists and all of their possibilities. These should only add to the complexity and humanness of your story, and who knows, you might actually find something new about yourself, just as I did. I'll end with one more of life's paradoxes, how the extraordinary can come out of the ordinary. In the short story, The Third and Final Continent by Jhumpa Lahiri, you might remember this story from your sophomore year English class. We have an unnamed narrator, an immigrant from India, who looks back on the journey he took as a young man that spanned 3 continents, ending up in Boston, meeting such people along the way as Mrs. Croft, the 103-year-old woman who rents him a room soon after his arrival and who considers the first moon landing in July of 1969 splendid. On the one hand, he thinks his story is ordinary. On the other hand, he thinks it might also be special. He tells us, "I have remained in this new world for nearly 30 years. I know that my achievement is quite ordinary. I am not the only man to seek his fortune far from home, and certainly I am not the first. Still, there are times when I am bewildered by each mile I have traveled, each meal I have eaten, each person I have known, each room in which I have slept. As ordinary as it all appears, there are times when it is beyond my imagination." While the narrator admits to the ordinariness of his life story, he also marvels at its immensity. When it comes to you and me, the reality is that so many people have high school graduations and retirements as part of their stories. While it might be easy to think of us as disappearing into this sameness, there is the paradox of the extraordinary coming out of the ordinary. Our paths and our stories are our own, unique in the complexity of the experiences we have had and of those experiences to come. They reflect where we have been, who we have met along the way, and how we have affected their stories, and who we have as part of our stories now, and what paths we have chosen to take. They also reflect the promise that is to come. As time unfolds before you, be as intentional and as thoughtful as you can as you continue to follow your road, as you continue to write your story. Welcome all those who enter your narrative, whether as minor or central characters. Find time to appreciate the journey with them, all of it, the joy of it, the difficult twists and the challenges of it, and know that the miles you travel, the meals you eat, and the people you know, whether for your time at KO or for the length of a lifetime, add to the woven tapestry of setting, of plot, of character, of conflict in your story, and to your own knowledge of who you are and of what you value. Godspeed to you all.
Thank you, Mr. Monroe. What a wonderful reminder to us about the importance of our stories. And I have to say that we're very fortunate as a school and all of these students here and the many thousands that you've impacted, that you had a plot twist many, many years ago and decided to come to Kingswood Oxford School. So thank you very much for those beautiful words. Okay, seniors, it's about that time. We're going to get down to business now. I'd like to invite Dr. Gleason, the head of the upper school, and Mary Martin, our board chair and former KO student and parent, to assist me in the presentation of the diplomas to the class of 2022. Seniors, when your name is called, you'll come up, shake Mrs. Martin's hand, and then come and shake mine and receive your diploma, and we will have a quick photo together.
Gabrielle Taylor Abramson.
Rio Ajar Aslan. Chase Robert Aston. Aiden Thomas Obi. Benjamin Matthew Baby. Lindsay Hamilton Bailey. James Logan Bierbauer. William Gabriel Berkemeyer. Connor Bernier. Caroline Mary Grace Boardman. Samuel Slater Bowley. Cody Harris Bronstein. Nathan Daly Broderick. Mia Danielle Brown. Mackenzie Deborah Caruso. Zeno Chen. Olivia Ruth Chomick. Gianna Marie Christiana. Elsa June Sissel. Sebastian Valentino Concepcion. Natalia Lysandra Correa. Roberto Gabriel Correa.
Jared Leonardo Cody. Ricardo Jorge Croes Ball. Edward Bates Crowther. Caroline Elizabeth Dawson. Kaya Taylor Durlew. Dylan Robert Diaz. Aiden Thomas Dillo. Catherine Ann Dorr. Grace Manjan Eshelman. Garrett Burry Gallup. Chase William Gibson. Sean Michael Gilland. Mason John Goldschlager. Akash Ganturu. Guo Kaiwen. Kylise Renee Hunter. Macy Rebecca Eisenberg. Eli William Johansson. Joseph Kanan. Max William Frederick Kahns. Samitha Maitri Kashyap. Edward Gilbert Keegan. Minso Kim. She is unable to be here. We will get her diploma. Olivia Elizabeth Kittleman. Sam Lewis Krugman. Trinity Faith LaFontaine. Arielena Marie Lang. Emma Jewel Levenbook. Sanyu Liu. Yutang Liu. Charlotte Elizabeth Mandel. Abigail Jillian McLaughlin. Samuel Hanul Merkatz. Regina Ann Miller. Megan Jean Murphy. Srinath Narasimhan. Amrita Natarajan. Alyssa N. Pavano. Christian Pedro. Henry Porter Pelletier. Grant Palmer Panoyer. Maddox William Pierce. Daniel Sebastian Raymond. Jondell Manuel Resto. Olivia Taylor Reynolds. Justin Daniel Rios. Stella Jane Reisinger. Aaron Maxwell Rodder. Aliza Masood Sadek. Benjamin Safalo. Patrick Riley Schwab. Edward Robertson Schwartz. David Alexander Shee. Morgan Sigel. Maya Rose Circus. Carter Samuel Smith. Cole Smith. Sydney Elizabeth Smith. Jonathan Sujun Sohn. Marich Samridovich. Serafina Squatrito. Ashley Rose Stepnowski. Hallie Stolzenberg. Ajay Sujaritha Ganesh. Ashley Chimaberi Taff. Alexis Vale. Thomas John Vitarelli. William Wells. Nathaniel James Welsh. Allison Brianna Wildstein. Benjamin James Werlin. Kylie Wolfrat. Naomi Mei-Ming Wong. Isaias Ellis Wooden. Chaori Zhao.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I could, for the first time, introduce you to the graduated class of 2022. All right, please be seated. So newly minted alumni, before I give the annual charge to the senior class, I'd like us to take a moment to thank some important people. While your diploma is the result of a lot of hard work on your part, there has been an army of supporters dedicated to helping you get here today, and I think it's important that we take a moment to acknowledge them. First, the setting of this commencement is, in my humble opinion, one of the most beautiful you'll find at any school in the country. I may be a little bit biased, but that's my belief. Surrounded by school buildings that have seen thousands of wyverns walk through their halls over the last decades, encircled by large oak trees, on a bed of grass we call the Senior Green. It truly is a remarkable place and an intimate way to celebrate our senior class and send them off into the world. But there are a group of men on this campus who work tirelessly to make it look this nice. So please join me in thanking the amazing Buildings and Grounds crew for spending countless hours making this look this good. Our Director of Facilities, Justin Wolfrat, who is also a father of an awesome graduating senior today, has been out here measuring and aligning rows of chairs literally for days. And Sherry Malinowski has been the field general behind the scenes, working everything necessary to pull off such a big event like this. So please give them a round of applause too. Another group that deserve our thanks and appreciation are the Kingswood Oxford Board of Trustees, led by the indefatigable Mary Martin, herself a graduate and parent of 2 KO alums. This is an immensely talented group of people who have achieved great success in their own lives and careers. They have full-time jobs of their own, but they love Kingswood Oxford so much that they dedicate many hours of their free time supporting and promoting our school's strategic vision and our motto, our mission, to inspire students to excel and lead lives of integrity. Their efforts have also made it possible for this amazing class to become graduates today. So please join me in thanking the Board of Trustees. To our parents, the parents and seniors, thank you for sharing your amazing children with us. There is no greater task, there's no greater honor than to partner with you in the raising of kind, thoughtful young adults. We are a better school because of them. And parents, we will miss seeing you around campus as well. I always tell our graduating seniors not to be strangers, and that this will always be a home for them away from home. And I extend that welcome to you as well. Seniors, your parents have been your biggest supporters and have made so many sacrifices over the years in both time and money for you to earn this diploma. So please thank me in joining your parents. And lastly, certainly not leastly, I'd like the faculty and staff to rise, please. Seniors, where would you be without this incredible group of talented and caring adults who brought you into their lives, have shared their passions with you, challenged you to reach further heights than you ever believed you could. They picked you up when you fell down, and they believed in you every minute of the way. So everyone, please join me in thanking this incredible faculty and staff of Kingswood Oxford School. So class of 2022, congratulations again. You are ready for this next chapter in your life. You have met the exacting demands of your teachers, and you've risen to the various challenges that have been put before you here at Kingswood Oxford. You are prepared for success in college, and you have learned valuable lessons about friendship, teamwork, and personal responsibility along the way. KO's core values are displayed on the lampposts that surround this senior green. And though you will no longer see them on a daily basis, you will not need to anymore, because they will continue to serve as guiding lights to you as you walk about this earth, pursuing excellence, involvement, and integrity. That path that you walk will not always be an easy one. So you will need to lean on those values in the coming years. And I wish that I could tell you otherwise, but there are perhaps more uncertainties on the trail ahead than there were just a few years ago. Indeed, it seems that we've strayed from the path and are walking through the forest a little bit directionless, and we may need your help to get us back on track. The world is not quite as stable a place as it was just 2 years ago. Since February of 2020, over 6 million people have lost their lives due to the pandemic, and an additional 7 to 8 million are estimated to have died due to indirect causes of COVID-19. That's 15 million lives lost in the past 2 years that would still be here otherwise. In my lifetime, and in yours, we have benefited from a secure international system based on the principles of cooperation, the rule of law, and the respect for the sovereignty of every state. And yet Russia's blatant and brutal invasion of Ukraine has threatened this global order and has made the world less secure today than it has ever been since the end of World War II. The combination of war and pandemic could very well lead to a global economic slowdown in the coming year, including rising inflation and rising income inequality in developing nations. At home, we face serious challenges as well. We live in a social media ecosystem that traffics in fake news and disinformation, making it ever more difficult to discern what's real and what's not. Vladimir Putin controls the press in Russia, and therefore its citizens are fed a single and false narrative about the invasion of Ukraine. But are we that much better off if our social media platforms use algorithms to feed us news and stories that confirm our already held beliefs and assumptions? We are being trapped in an unending cycle of confirmation bias, the result of which is not just the dumbing down of our society and the rise of bizarre conspiracy theories and a lack of trust in our public institutions, but also an increase in division and partisanship. Our country has not been this divided since the period of the Civil War. We have seen a significant rise in polarization and distrust over the last decade, and a sad march towards favoring party loyalty over narrow interests over citizenship that threatens our very democracy. Indeed, a recent Yale study showed that the vast majority of those polled favored achieving their own political party's goals even if it came at the expense of democratic principles. So thanks for listening, class of 2022. I wish you all the best. I'm just kidding. I realize that all sounds pretty daunting and depressing, but here's where my charge comes into you. We need your help. It sounds cliche, but you are the future, and we need you to do better than we have done. It is your job to repair the world and fix what is broken. So what do I ask of you? I ask that you put the interests of our country, of the common good, ahead of the interests of party. I ask that you recognize that our democracy relies on the idea of compromise to function properly. I ask that you commit yourself to a rigorous standard of inquiry and critical thinking. Be suspicious and skeptical of facts and so-called truths until you have had the chance to evaluate the source and weigh that source carefully. I ask that you always take care to hear the other side. You will need to develop thick skin in order to welcome ideas that might challenge your own assumptions and beliefs. I ask that you be willing to change your opinion or a belief you have when confronted with better evidence to the contrary. And I ask that you help this country become a better place where all citizens will have the same opportunities for success in the future. I realize that's quite a lot to ask of you, and I don't expect you to accomplish everything in your first year. But by year 2, I want to see the war in Ukraine over, and I'd like to see Congress pass bills with broad partisan support. In all seriousness, I do recognize that your capacity to heal the world by yourself is unrealistic. But I hope that you will address the challenges ahead armed with the core values and clear thinking that you have learned during your years at Kingswood, Oxford. It won't be easy. Life never is, even in the best of times. And you will need to find ways to center yourself, to find a calm harbor when the seas get a little rough. You will need a constant that you can rely on in any circumstance that will serve you well during both the highs and the lows of your life. Which leads me to my final and most important charge to you, class of 2022. It's a pretty simple concept, though not always very easy to do. It's the one that will give you the best chance to lead a happy and a fulfilling life. I'm talking about kindness. Why kindness? Well, for one, it is what a divided and angry world needs more than anything today. If we are to heal the world, it will require a good dose of love and a good dose of kindness, a little bit of loving kindness. And as you go out into this world, I'll ask that you seek the best in other people. Extend grace to others, even when it may not be deserved. Assume good intent. The disposition of kindness is perhaps best encapsulated in our own school's core value of care beyond self. Mark Twain famously said, "Kindness is the language which the deaf can hear and the blind can see." If you can extend kindness to others, you will be in possession of a universal language that will help you to connect with anyone in the world. Kindness and love are the core tenets of all of the major religions. In 1 Corinthians 13:13 in the Christian Bible, it says, 3 things will last forever: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. The Bible also says to forgive others, love your enemies, and expect nothing in return. The Jewish commitment to serving others is rooted in the act of loving kindness. One of Islam's hadiths says that other than faith in Allah, the highest priority is loving kindness towards others. I love that concept. I love that idea of loving kindness. In both the Hindu and the Buddhist traditions, it is called metta, the concept of loving kindness. And it is actually part of a meditation practice. Many of you have probably practiced mindfulness, or at least taken a mindful moment, or perhaps you've been forced to do so by a well-meaning, super progressive KO teacher at some point. I am a pretty rational person, probably rational to a fault. So I'll confess that I used to think that it was just a new agey thing for people that were in search of new meaning. But I started working with mindfulness a couple of years ago with an app called Waking Up, led by neuroscientist and philosopher Sam Harris. And yes, for those of you savvy enough to put 2 and 2 together, you'll realize that I started that right after COVID-19 had begun. That was a pretty stressful time for me personally, as it was for all of us, as I wrestled with not just what if I or a loved one got sick from this mysterious virus, but also what would be the impact on our school community. But I learned that taking a few moments each day helps to center myself and relieve stress. And the research on the mental and physical benefits of mindfulness, meditation, or prayer, whichever you choose, is pretty compelling. And you'd be hard-pressed to find a doctor today who would not encourage you to make this a regular practice in your life. So, class of 2022, I'm going to do something different with you today, something that I've never done with a prior class, and something that well may be the first of its kind in the history of all commencement ceremonies. Are you ready? It may end up in the Guinness Book of World Records, but I'll need everyone to participate. In a minute, I'm going to ask us to spend 2 to 3 minutes in a mindful moment together, focusing on the idea of metta, loving kindness towards others. Why? My hope is that this can be an aid for you when you are stressed or anxious in the years ahead, when you are lonely or sad, or when your ship is being battered by the stormy seas. This can be your safe harbor in the midst of that storm, and by focusing our energy on a spirit of loving kindness towards ourselves and others, it can reduce stress, and it will give you a greater capacity to accept what is, to forgive others, and to show grace. So here we go. Are we ready? Faculty, parents, guests, trustees, you're all in this together, all right? I'd like everyone to close their eyes for a moment and just rest comfortably. Take a couple of deep breaths and focus for a minute only on your breath. Take a deep breath and hold it for a count of 4, and then exhale slowly. Try to get lost in your thought. Try not to think about who is sitting next to you, or in front of you, or behind you. There is only you breathing in that space. Now I'd like you to bring to mind someone in your life who you care deeply about. Picture someone you love, or admire, or respect. It could be a friend or a colleague, someone against whom you have no grievances. And when you find that person, just picture them in your mind and try to picture them truly happy. Imagine all of what they are seeking in life is being attained. Picture them healthy and consciously wish them to be genuinely happy and free from all suffering. Picture them smiling. Picture them laughing. And direct your goodwill toward them. as you picture them in your mind, direct these sayings towards them. May you be happy. May you be free from suffering. May you be at peace. All right, everybody wake up. Wake up. Class of 2022, as you head out into a divided world that is more uncertain than ever, when you encounter extremism, my charge to you is to replace it with temperance. When you come across bad ideas or poor thinking, I ask you to double down on objective facts and critical thinking. And when you encounter anger and hatred in the world, I charge you with responding with loving kindness. You guys are an amazing class. Thanks for doing that with me, everybody. Know that our doors are always open for you here at Kingswood Oxford. We cannot wait to hear about your adventures when you return to say hello. I will leave you with a somewhat overused Gaelic blessing, but I think it's overused for good reason. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. One final charge, make sure that you call your parents next year at least once every week, okay? Good luck, goodbye, and Godspeed. I'd like to invite Mr. Kife to the stage now for a farewell message.
Thank you, Mr. Dillo. I don't think I've ever been as relaxed before public speaking. 100 years ago this summer, Kingswood School moved from Hartford to this wonderful campus. For a century, Severance Hall and the first house have stood on the senior green as sentinels and symbols of educational excellence, just as you do now, class of 2022. During the past century, our school has faced and conquered many challenges, changes, and choices, just as you have during your time here. And like our school, you have grown stronger and thrived, adding a rich and exciting chapter to the Kingswood Oxford story. Thank you, congratulations, and Godspeed.
In a minute, we will have our official recession, but just as a reminder, it is a tradition, a very important tradition at Kingswood Oxford, that a senior is not actually officially graduated until they have shaken the hand of every member of the faculty at school. Seniors, as you process off the green, please make your way to the receiving line back here behind me to participate in this wonderful tradition. If we could please have the recessional music. Audience, please rise. Faculty, please lead us out.
making us sound good.
No, not a problem.
There, we can just pop this off. Might be easier to work it out here. There we go. Oh, sorry about that.
That's all right.
Alrighty.